Make it. Good thing no cops was out there. Murphy.
Well,
Murphy,
you know Castor.
Officer
You can just drop Castor's name.
Murphy would have showed up, when you least expect.
You were calling her cell phone.
Officer Joe Bust.
Yeah. I know.
And what you need is a speeding ticket?
Yeah, that's what I needed.
Nobody needs a speeding ticket.
Yeah, shit.
And I was things were going pretty good. I needed a speeding ticket, so I thought I'd drove 75 miles an hour down 56th Street.
Yeah.
On Saturday afternoon.
But see, in Tibetaris, you ain't got to do that. You could drive 1 mile over the speed limit in Tibetaris.
That's true. They're pretty rough out there, right?
Yeah, they get you.
Boom. Welcome, everyone, to Porch Talk Radio on TV. Don't forget us on Facebook, please. Come on board and be our friend. Porch Talk Radio, you'll find us there. Also, porchtalkradio.com. Please share that link with friends and family all over the planet, as well as blogtalkradio.com. Just type in Porch Talk Radio online, and you'll find us there as well. Got another great show lined out for you. Eddie, what do we got?
Well, it seems like a month since we was here. It's just only a week, but
A while.
Things happen. I was just saying this was one of those kind of days because I've been out of town most of the week. I went to Bizarro World, and anybody that's seen this show before know where I call Bizarro World. It was 12 degrees. No, 15 degrees when I got off the airplane in Philadelphia going to Camden, New Jersey, which is Bizarro World for those who've not been there before, where everything is like Superman. Remember Bizarro character, where the opposite world, where nothing was like it supposed to be. Well, anyway, that's Camden, New Jersey for me. It was 15 degrees when I got there, and 2 degrees wind chill factor when I left. The only good thing was no snow. Did not snow the whole time I was there. But I think it was an ice cube on the ground when I got there, and when I left, it was still there. Matter of fact, it grew a little bit, so. And it was outside. So anyway, last week was Gasparilla Week. For those who are local to the area, those who are not local to the area, every day, every year, a group of 100-year-old pirates invade the city, take the key from the mayor, and then just party. Last week, I think we got some clips. The whole gang was there. We have, Tim was there, Gabriel was there, Willie wasn't there, but next year he's gonna join the fray. So see if we can get Mr. Lawson up in there a little bit too. But again,
You have to get your dance on, bro.
we got probably. Now I'm just say, it's not a Disney float. To say the least, but we got a float, and as you can see, we be partying. That's Lily Bonics there. So for those who are saying, what did he just say? I said we be partying. That's kind of what we do. It's one of those kind of events where you get to let your hair down, get to let your feathers fly, as they say, and make stuff happen. So it was a great time was had by all. Gabriel was one of the few times he was not properly dressed.
What?
And I scolded him for that.
And you know how that hurt me.
So next year he'll come up without his beach attire on. So anyway,
It's Florida.
Until next year. Actually until next week. I mean, we do it all again, but at night. So we will have a night parade event showing up on the 14th, and we'll do some more partying and maybe get some more photos, some more video for you, and let you see how we roll Gasparilla up in here on porchtalkradio.com. Porch Talk Radio on TV. Porch Talk Radio on any type of internet format you want to call it. That's kind of what we do here. So we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about something that I know everyone out there wants to hear. So see you in a little bit. the hell are we supposed to be talking about? Oh.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Porch Talk Radio on TV. For all you Twitter type people, we have Porch Talk Radio T, that one of these guys is tweeting on a regular basis, as well as don't forget us on just porchtalkradio.com. Come visit us and share the good news. Eddie, where are we headed to today?
Well, I am having, currently involved in a project. Those who are familiar with Tampa has heard of a historical house that's on the historical register, and it's called the Jackson House. The Jackson House is the only edifice left in a historically rich black community. Back in the day, they was called the Scrubs. Because when Tampa was first discovered, and we're not politically correct, let me go ahead and get that out the way. The white folks had the waterfront and downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They put the Hispanics in Ybor. So Ybor for close to 100 years has been Hispanic. In order to get downtown and make downtown efficient, the way they did houses back in the day, they would have servants' quarters close enough to the workings of the house for them to get access without going through the front door or going through the living room and all that kind of stuff. So the Scrubs is kind of like the back door of the dumb waiter to downtown Tampa. Because downtown Tampa had a lot of ports. They had a lot of business, a lot of import-export, a lot of other stuff where they needed manual labor. And I'm talking about in the early teens, like 1915, 1920.
Is that pronounced Manuel labor? Just trying to clarify. I'm sure.
But these were black folks, so it wasn't a whole bunch of black folks back then named Manuel.
I didn't know if my peeps were involved. Just checking.
No, you guys were rolling cigars
back
in the day. So y'all were working in the factory. We were still doing the nanodocs and stuff.
The real work.
Yeah, but it was mostly serving. I mean, serving, cleaning, janitorial stuff. I mean, traditional labor for black folks at that time. There was no cotton fields in Florida, so again, the service industry that grew and supported downtown Tampa was in the Scrubs. And if you ever see it on a map, literally, you have downtown, you have what was the Scrubs, which was which in the 60s became a project, and then you have Ybor. So there's a connector. There's this connection going on between the blacks, the Hispanics, and the white folks who was downtown. In all the history of all this stuff that's happened, there's only one house that was actually a hotel left, and it's called the Jackson House. I got a chance to walk through it the other day for the first time. Badly kept, needs lots of renovation, lots of repair, lots of restoration. I have had the fortune and honor to be myself and my partner to be the architects of record for the restoration of this
awesome
for this house.
So it's going to stay.
Well, it's got some issues.
Oh boy.
Other than the fact that it's falling down, so it's going to have to structurally be made sound. And the plan, after talking with the engineers, is to structurally make it sound where it is, then move it. So once it's moved to its new location, which will be kind of in the heart of of the new Tampa Housing Authority village there, which is literally right across the street, a couple blocks away. And once they get it moved, then actually renovate it on the new site. So it's going to have to be structurally made sound. Then they have to put a skeleton in it, which will allow you to actually move it in the shape it is, and then do the renovations once it gets to the new site. So come Monday morning, bright and early, me and my magical tape and pencils or pens or whatever, and a notepad, we're going to go start measuring this house for its historical significance. And for those who are not familiar with the house, a tisket, a tasket, something about your yellow basket. the grandson of the owner, of the original owner of the house, giving me the tour, said she wrote that song sitting right there in front of the fireplace. And Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, Ray Charles, Chubby Checker, James Brown, and if you go on and on and on and on, the list of famous African Americans, and I'm saying that just to be polite because I know I'm saying black folks, and I guess I need to go back to saying black folks, but black folks who came to Tampa Bay. During this time, there was no white hotels for them to stay in. The other people who used her facilities, and this is a boarding house that started out as just a home for her and her family, Miss Jackson, and it ended up she added a couple rooms. Next thing you know, she had 24 rooms. And again, back in the day, 24 rooms in a boarding house was a lot. And historical, famous black entertainers used it. They all stayed there at one time or another. Also, who stayed there was military folks, because McDill has been around for a while. And for those who did not stay on base, they could not stay in the white hotels. They had to come stay at the Jackson House. So the city of Tampa, NAACP, concerned citizens all are, for one time, teaming up to try to save this house. So we're going to see how we get. Hopefully we can get this thing done because, again, it is a historical record. The house itself is an historical record. Walking through the house, you feel its significance to the community. And it is all that is left. It is all that is now standing. It is all that is now recognizable of a whole period of time in Tampa, the city of Tampa's history. There's plenty of things like the University of Tampa and houses and parks and stuff named after whites and Hispanics. But for black folks, there's not a lot. And now is the time for those who are interested in actually saving and preserving their history. This is the one icon we got left. So it is significant. It is a big deal. As my daughter would say, it's a big freaking deal. I know you guys know what that means. So again, here we are. And I'm going to get the opinions of my co-host here, because I know it's something like this makes a difference and means something to everybody. Whether you're familiar with the workings of the house or not, it just has that place in Tampa's history.
Well, it seems it's heartening to know that this whole house is going to be saved, because it means so much, and it has the potential to educate so many people who live in Tampa about Tampa's rich history, not just Tampa's black history. Because the fact of the matter, this isn't just about Tampa's black history. This is about Tampa's history together. And you mentioned some of the entertainers and ball players and servicemen, and from where it is now, it was just a short stone's throw away from Central Avenue, which was the black business district for so very long in Tampa, which is unfortunately all gone now. And we got a park. Yay.
Yeah.
We got a park
that we got to fight to keep.
that
Skateboard park.
they had a skate bowl so the white kids could come play.
What neighborhood?
That worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
Urban renewal. Yes, indeedy. Gentrification before it was gentrification. Any case, to stay positive, I think that this is a fabulous.
Positive.
I think this is a fabulous thing. I'm sort of, because you're an architect, you have to explain this to me. I'm sort of worried about the fact that it's being moved, and I don't understand why it has to be moved. Why can't it stay where it is? Is there a sinkhole under it? Are there monsters under the ground there? What are they planning on putting in? Is that where the skate bowl is going? Is there some reason why it can't stay where it is?
Well, politics. That nasty animal that gets involved in everything and in everyone's daily life. I mean, think about it. The house is not a big house, and it's not on a big lot. But from where the house currently sits, you can throw a stone, as Willie was just saying, and you can hit the train station, the Amtrak train station. You can throw a stone from where this house currently is and reach the crosstown. You can throw a stone, if you got a good arm, and hit the courthouse. You can hit all kind of public buildings, all that kind of stuff. Which means for downtown, a 2-story structure, which means it is the only 2-story structure in downtown Tampa. So that means the land is more valuable than the house will ever be. So the issue is the city would like to tear it down. But since so many screamed, hollered, and yelled, matter of fact, that was their plan. Since so many people outraged, screamed, hollered, yelled about saving the house, and their only interest is the land. And it's not that far from Bennetville. So it's in the heart of a future development. It's kind of like the old lady in Texas who had a house and they wanted to build a big mall, and the one in New York who they wanted to build a big tower building, and she fought and screamed and yelled so much that they built it right over her house. Well, they're not going to do this in Tampa. They say, if you want to keep it, move it. So we're going to move it. And the only way they can move it is stabilize it, literally build a skeleton inside the frame of the house as it exists, move it, and then renovate it. Since most of the money is going to be in the renovation part of it, and you always have the potential of when you're moving a house or moving a structure, that it can collapse. So they didn't want to renovate it, try to move it, and have it collapse while they was moving it. So that brings us to where we are now. We're going to try to stabilize it, build a frame that's structural inside it, and then move it to its permanent location in the middle of Encore, which is the Tampa Housing Authority new residential community there.
You know, if Sarah and Moses would have known, Jackson would have known that this house would still survive this day and age. That's pretty amazing. But there was 6 rooms initially, and they added another story onto that. And you're going to try and haul it all out now and move it to another spot. I'm like, wow, there's going to be some stuff going on trying to get that house moved. There's a lot of history. Obviously there, Wikipedia just shows it as the only place in Tampa where black travelers, or as Wikipedia put it, African descent could stay in town, period.
Yeah.
And then for it to, I mean, it's awesome that you're involved in it and you're making it still remain. Obviously some other people. The family still, one of the grandchildren still owns it, right?
Grandson, yes.
Still has a claim to it, I guess, per se. But it's history. It's just history to you guys, being able to keep it intact, move it to another position. Obviously, the land you said is the issue.
Yeah.
The house can be fixed up right there where it is, but then what? So moving it out of harm's way, I guess.
Yeah, that's basically what you're doing.
Trying to preserve it.
Trying to do anyway.
Sounds like a great idea.
Well, the shame is, and the missed opportunity that city sees, is that if it stays, and it's not going to, but if it stays where it stays, it becomes this museum piece. It becomes this testament to the city's a real testament to the city's dedication and concern for the history of all the citizens. Where it's going now, and correct me if I'm getting a little sensitive about this, is, yeah, y'all can take your house, but you got to put it over there with the rest of the Negroes. We'll put it in Negro Village, which is what Encore has turned into. You can take it. We'll move it. You can move it over to Negro Village because we want this for us.
Yeah.
And I may be a little sensitive about that, but
I can tell.
And I may be completely out of line. And I would tell Mayor Bob that to his face. And I like the guy, but I tell him to his face. That's what it seems like to me. And Vinnick Village is down by Channelside, so
right.
You know what? Let them do that first. They're 3 or 4 years away from having that. They haven't a real name for it yet. We call it Vinnick Village because they have a name for it yet.
For $1 billion, he can call it anything he wants.
Yeah, exactly. He called it the pit. I don't care what he calls it. But this whole idea of well, it's in the way. Y'all can have it, but you got to move it out of my way. Seems like, and if it's in that village, it's almost hidden.
Yeah.
And that's the shame of it. It's almost hidden. It's such an important thing. And as a musician, when you know that some of the greatest musicians of the 40s and 50s stayed there,
right? Yeah.
It's got a lot of significance. And you've seen the thing that's on City of Tampa Television. Sorry, guys. That James Tokley did about the building, and it is fabulous.
Yeah, it is. It is great.
It is, and if you haven't seen that, try to see it. It's not on this network, unfortunately. It's on another network, but it's fabulous about the house and the history of the house. It just seems to me, I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that it's not being destroyed by wrecking balls and bulldozers. I'm thrilled about that. I'm very excited that somebody I know is having a part in the saving of the house. But it's sort of, I don't know, it sort of sits wrong with me kind of right here. That y'all can have it, but y'all got to move it over there behind the fence.
Yeah. It kind of came with a set of conditions. Again, the city wanted to destroy the house several years ago. Would have been destroyed. It was set for the wrecking ball. I mean, it probably only take 1 or 2 hits for it to fall down. But again, with that being said, somebody had the wherewithal to actually stand up and say, this is a historical monument. It's on the historical register. And it was on the historical register and still set to be destroyed. The house has a 0 lot line. I'm not sure if you guys understand what a 0 lot line is. That means the house itself starts at the edge of the sidewalk. The back of the house is at the alley. Probably got 2 feet on each side. So again, the house is taking up the lot. It's not a huge lot, but it's where the lot is. and the land value for the house. Now, I'm going to tell you, the house is probably worth about $100,000, but the land is worth about $500,000. So you kind of understand. It's kind of like having, for all you lovely husbands who never want to be worth more dead than alive, you know, it's like, okay, alive you're worth $100,000, dead you're worth $500,000. You better have somebody that love you to keep from being dead. You see what I'm saying? Or $1 million, you know, one of those kind of things. So anyway, this is about the process. It's about saving history. Now, I went to a house a couple of months ago that's out in Riverview, Ruskin area. And this was a multi-million-dollar house that cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to move. They moved this house all the way from Bradenton.
Okay.
Under the Skyway, all the way down the river, the Alafai River, and set this house out in the middle of nowhere. Now, this is a multi-million-dollar house, big, huge house. This house is a wood structure. That house was block or brick. I mean, just the difference between the two and the scale of the two is phenomenal. But I think the historical significance of the house is also significant because this was a big, beautiful house that they moved out there in Riverview, but not so much historical as this house. Because I hate to say it, but you know, the reality is white folks got a lot of big, nice, pretty houses, and a lot of them are still around. And if you go to Europe, you can find houses 500-600 years old. They got castles, you know, 1,000 years old.
But
so
they don't move them; they leave them where they are.
I'm just saying that. That being said, that's Europe too. So we just don't. We're not in the habit in this country of maintaining and keeping historical significance.
No.
That's not of.
Keep it intact? Nah.
That's not for white folks, not of white folks. Because you got Charleston, you got, you know, Savannah, you got a whole bunch of historical towns. But when you go to those historical towns, most of the places you see are the nice houses from the nice white folks who stayed there, who made them rich, who made the town significant, not of the black, Hispanic, Indian quarters or houses and stuff. Matter of fact, most of them don't last historically long enough to be on any kind of historical register or anything like that. Because if you take the house that Martin Luther King was born and raised in, nobody knew he was going to be famous. So when the interstate came through Atlanta, they kind of, you know, bulldozed his house down. And then the only thing of his whole life that's left is the houses he lived in as an adult. And they only got one of those. So again, when you're looking for historical significance, you kind of, for black folks, you got to look for it. And that's all over the country. Because we were considered to be a lesser race back in those days. So, you know, if you moved out of your house and somebody else didn't move in your house the next day, then your house may not have been there if you go back 5-10 years. Well, that's not true for a lot of white folks. I mean, a lot of white folks can go back to the house their great-great-grandmother was lived in, and they go up in the attic and find stuff that's worth millions of dollars because somebody stuck it up there, you know, 50 years, 100 years ago. Not true with most minorities.
Well, and I think not to justify what's wrong, obviously, but it's still going on. As you guys are explaining, they're going to have to move it into the ghetto, out of the ghetto, so they can make it into something nicer. I think the fact that after it's all said and done, the, quote, average white person knows to go, we're talking two different income levels. Mm-hmm. They're already in a nice area. So the chance for the city government to say, oh, this isn't a nice neighborhood where all the white people are, let's move it out into the ghetto, that's not going to happen because it's already in a good area. So I think you guys are just stuck with just economics.
Well, it's not really moving to the ghetto. But it is being put into a development that is done by the Tampa Housing Authority. So
It's being put behind a fence. It's like you'll understand this. It's like taking your light and putting it under a bushel basket. It's one of those things that as far as I'm concerned, it's one of those uniting factors. It's a shining star that we can use in our community for everybody who visits to enjoy. That we're putting behind a fence.
Well,
we're putting behind a gate.
Yeah, but also I see the mayor just thinking, we need to. This is old history. Tampa is now more diversified. We don't want to keep this thing around anymore as a monument to the way things used to be, because we're now more diversified. So let's just go hide this somewhere and get out of the way, so they won't see or be reminded about it. Well, that makes sense too.
Well, also I heard somebody said when you go down to Ybor, they have those shotgun houses down there in the row. And when I was in architecture school, we went there, and one of the students called that a human petting zoo. Because literally, you just go down there, and they've dressed some old folks up in the attire of the day. It's not quite cracker country, but, they have some people fake like they're cooking bread and fake like they're carrying on business.
Like Crackerville over at the fairgrounds.
I say...
That's what I'm thinking about.
Not Cracker Town, it's called Cracker Village.
Yeah, Cracker Village over there at
Cracker Country.
Cracker Country,
which is Cracker Country.
Cracker Country is
it's for real. We're not making it up.
Is it the Florida State Fair?
The crack in the room confirms it.
Okay.
Tim.
Okay. With that being said, because this thing has nowhere to go from this point.
We're done.
But down.
Call it good.
So we're gonna go to a break, and then when we come back, we're gonna do what we normally do when we come back and talk about our sponsors and do some wood shedding and word of the day and all that kind of stuff. So see you in a little bit.
Come on back. Well, that's a shame, but there's nothing seems to going to change what's been going on
Well, they're gonna move
forever.
it. Well,
Same old shit.
Well, they're gonna move it.
If they don't save it now, it will fall down.
Oh yeah, it's in really bad shape. And
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the fact that the same old is continuing on.
I like, you know what? Again, like I said, I'm thrilled that what is his name? Why do I forget his name?
You talking about son?
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah, his name is not Jackson. His name is something Willie Robinson.
Yeah, Willie Robinson.
Willie Robinson.
I know his first name is Willie. But he's hung in and
Yeah.
fought and
Yeah.
hung in,
Yeah.
and it looked like it was all over at numerous points.
Yeah.
And he's hung in for a long time.
And he can't keep it because he don't have no money.
Yeah.
So he owns somebody else's dole and dollar. You know.
He can't. I mean, he didn't have the cash to do what he needed to do himself. So, yeah, you know what? And he's hung in, and I'm glad it's still there. And I'm sure inside the Encore they'll make it a showpiece and a museum and all that stuff. But it just bothers me that it's behind that now it's behind that it's not behind that fence, and it's not going to be as accessible.
No, it's not. But see, the other thing too is, if it stays where it's at, nobody wants to fix it there because nobody's claiming it. See, that becomes the issue too. They put it inside Encore, then you know they're gonna keep it up because they got money. So the issue becomes, where it's at now, nobody wants to spend their money because the city's gonna tax them out of existence because the city don't want it there. The city's the big dog.
Well, that's my point.
And they're nasty.
That's my point. The city doesn't want it there, but you know what? Frankly, they should if they were a little bit more forward thinking.
Yeah.
They should want it there because they could build something really important in their downtown area around it.
And the only things around it now is a bunch of parking lots. So, but for future development, all the parking lots are owned by the city.
Do you know what future development looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Future development looks like what's the name of that street that Julia Jackson lives on? Do you know Julia?
I know Julia, but I don't know where she's staying.
I owe a lot to Julia Jackson. If Julia Jackson hadn't decided that, you know what, that as an art teacher of Brandon, that she would leave her house on Highland and come to Brandon and get me and a couple of other people and take us home from band practice, even after her own son graduated, I owe a lot to Julia Jackson. I went by there yesterday, the other day, Friday I went by there, and those two little houses are still there. And you know what's around them that was supposed to be there? It's supposed to be all this new development and townhouse, blah blah. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. The city blighted the area, which meant that what they did was they made the value of the property zero.
Right.
Zero.
So nobody would invest in it.
Exactly. And tore down all those houses, every single one of them, except for those two houses where Mrs. Jackson lives and that house next door. That's all that's there. And there's nothing anywhere around. There's nothing anywhere around there except for that new where the Tampa Armature Works used to be. They're developing over there, but there's nothing, and there hasn't been anything there for 20 years.
Thanks for plugging that in.
What?
You were plugging that in?
I don't know. Plugging that into where? No, I don't need it anymore.
Mics are hot.
Welcome back, everyone, to Porch Talk Radio on TV. You're welcome to drop us a note on Facebook if you have comments on anything we've covered so far. If you'd love to be a sponsor that we're getting ready to thank, we'd love to have you on board. Also, if you just have something struck a nerve somewhere, let us know. We'd be happy to respond back in due time. Don't forget us on porchtalkradio.com as well as just Porch Talk Radio T for you Twitter people. Eddie, great topic. Where are we headed to?
All right. First of all, Faith Home Health Incorporated. Quality home health in your home, 24 hours a day. I'm talking about the bum diggity as far as home health is concerned. So if you got someone in your family, a loved one, who you're looking for home patient care, because the doctor comes, the pharmacist comes, the nurses come, the therapist comes, any other problem or person that you may need to come. That's what makes them unique. These folks come to your house. I remember when I was a kid, the doctor would do house and home visits. You know, he had his little medicine kit. Well, that can happen again. So, Faith Home Health, 24-hour quality home health in your home. Now, we're going to do the word of the day. And the word of the day is epitome. And epitome is a noun. It means a person or object that is the perfect example of something. Epitome. A person or object that is the perfect example of something. That's like saying that for those football fans, Tom Brady is the epitome of a Super Bowl quarterback. That's just made a perfect example. Don't mean he's the best ever, because that's still a debate. A lot of folks still say Joe Montana. But again, that's just an example of epitome. Or if someone was to say a beauty queen is the epitome of beauty, which is something that's argumentable also, because beauty is not always the facial features and the buttocks and
what?
And the
Forget
booty.
it. No, he's wrong. Totally wrong. We lost you. You lost me on that, Bart.
And
No.
the other physical features, but again, it's just the nature of the beast. Going to the woodshed today. This is a politically incorrect conversation. I'm saying that to start it off because when I was a kid and I was in third grade back in 1962, 1963, I know for some of you guys, yeah, that was like when the water was invented or something.
Dirt.
Yeah.
Dirt was in it.
But when I was in third grade,
They were still trying to get out.
you know what the number one issue for the country was? It was the population boom. And as a third grader, I heard people say, if we don't do something to curb our population growth, we're going to destroy the planet and everyone is going to starve because there's not going to be enough food for all the people.
They're still saying that.
My point. Now, when I was in third grade, number one problem, population growth. And that the goal, and I'm going to say this the way I got it because I was in third grade and I was in a segregated black school. White folks' goal was 0 population growth back in 1963. In 2015, in America today, white folks' population growth is 0. I mean, matter of fact, it's less than 0. And if you look at anybody who's predicting the future, even though black folks blindly follow white folks, even if it's on to your own demise, because between not having babies and killing babies, you know, black folks have done a pretty darn good job of destroying their futures also. But sometimes the smart people are too smart. Because I know Margaret Sanger, the Planned Parenthood founder, her great plan was to basically get rid of lesser people in this country.
Lesser than her.
Primarily blacks was her target. Little did she know that what she was doing to create zero population growth.
Zero black population growth.
Yeah. Targeted at black folks. Kind of ricocheted back onto her people. That's why I say this is not a politically correct, because there's not a lot of people having this conversation. Because when you look at the future for white folks in America, I mean, very soon they are going to be a minority. At some point in time, I remember Richard Pryor telling a joke. You know, there are certain things that you got to do to be having babies. You better start having some babies. Because you got populations like the Chinese who long ago restricted population growth, and they still got the largest population of people in the world. They got over 1 billion people. There's over 1 billion Indians. And I mean from the country India.
They're pretty tight up in there. I just had to go there.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, there's some populations that never got the memo about zero population growth. We have put it in the full effect. And between birth and the increased birth
Battery
rates
fully charged.
and increased birth rates in the United States among foreign and illegal immigrants and immigration. So you got birth rates and immigration. It will not be long, some shape, form, or fashion, that white folks are going to be in such a minority that the political clout, the financial clout, and their place as being at the top of the food chain for as people are concerned all over the planet, it's going to be in dire jeopardy. So again, this is my woodshed moment, having a conversation that I'm sure somebody's having somewhere, but it's not black folks talking about white folks' eventual demise by their own hands, I must say. And with that, we're going to go to a break, and then when we come back, we're going to do something else.
No.
68, Paul Ehrlich is the one that started that.
Well, it is. It
Co-founded.
Well, it is interesting that that what Margaret Sanger and the eugenists meant for quote lesser races
Right.
is actually happening
To them.
to them. That they got the memo. That they somehow got the memo and are buying off on a lot of the very same principles, because what they were afraid of is, more than anything, poverty and all the things that come with poverty. So a lot of white folks in particular in this country, are deciding to have children later, and that bit of insanity, and it is insanity as far as I'm concerned,
it
is being glorified. They can't wait to get the 45-year-old new mom on TV.
And again,
And at 45,
most Hispanic, and even some blacks, and definitely Indians and Asians. Yeah, they got the Indians that come from India, and the Asians that don't come from China are very populous.
well, the thing is, and they have their children when I think that people should have their children.
Young, how many young?
Yeah. We have it's funny. I was just thinking about that. We have a young lady in our church, a lovely young white couple, and the woman is 25, and she's got 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't see a bunch of 25-year-olds with 2 kids.
Not white.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. I mean, it's cool that she's married. I mean, she's married, but they're in a very stable relationship.
Which is excellent.
She's got 2 kids. She's having her kids when I think you should.
Right, when you can do it, when you can run behind them.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
She got 2 little boys, for God's sakes. Yeah, I mean, and right now that whole thing is not being glorified.
Here we go.
Welcome back, everyone, to Porch Talk Radio on TV. Don't forget us on Facebook. Drop some comments if you had some ideas in regards to what we're talking about. You want to add to it? Great. A correction? We highly research all of this before we bring it to you. We're very industrious. We have quite a team of people make sure we bring you the most accurate information. Is that right, Willie?
Yes.
Exactly. So if anything's not quite lining up, drop us a message on Facebook.
You're probably wrong.
Exactly, because we just know. We are professional. Don't try this at home. With that,
99.9% sure.
Exactly. Oh, that's a bad percentage. 99.9% of all. Yeah. Okay, so going forward, don't forget us on Facebook as well as porchtalkradio.com. Come and chat with us. Eddie?
All right. Now, I kind of explained earlier that I was away for most of the week. And when you're away from Florida and you hear things about Florida sometime in other places,
such as?
Bizarre World, Camden, New Jersey. Now, it wasn't the Florida thing that shocked me because I actually saw it on a episode of American Greed, the story of Abraham Shakespeare, who's over in Lakeland and Plant City, and someone went after his money, killed him, shot him, buried him in a hole under a, I guess you would call it a carport, because it wasn't a driveway. It was in the backyard.
It was a cement slab.
Concrete slab, yeah. So it wasn't the driveway. Mm-hmm. It was in the backyard, just this big old slab of concrete. Now I saw that, and it was disturbing, but it was not as disturbing to me as, and this section on our paper here is called The Burning Man. Because ISIS, I guess they wanted to make a point, because they were dealing with the king of Jordan.
Oh, he came back pretty strong. Unfortunately, he got the power of a gnat.
He said, I mean, the threat was they wanted some of their people out of prison. And
he started killing them.
And as a threat, they put a Jordanian pilot that they captured in a steel cage, doused him with accelerants. For those who don't understand what accelerants are,
gas.
That's stuff that will burn quickly and rapidly. Doused him with an accelerant on public TV in front of a crowd of people, and they watched this man die. They watched him burn to death in this cage. It is really barbaric, and it's not a lot of Americans. Matter of fact, I wish they would have showed the whole thing on American TV, because you still got people that's defending this, that it's not some kind of religious something. These just a bunch of zealots and wackos.
Well, they're not Islamist extremists at all.
Well,
they're just misinformed peoples.
Again, that being said, I saw an interview, I think the next night, with the King of Jordan and President Obama. The King of Jordan, and again, I am not your average, everyday American. I agree to that. I say that up front. He did what I think me and a whole bunch of people that feel about this stuff the way I do. The next morning, he hung publicly to one of the ones that ISIS wanted set free, which happened to be a female. He did a public hanging and hung the two of them the next day. Didn't hem, didn't haw, didn't have a whole bunch of meetings. Rapid retaliation. And he set the tone. Now, I want you to, along with myself, see where Jordan and ISIS go. Because Jordan done played their cards. They basically say, okay, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, whatever you want to do, bring it. Because you're not going to do this public execution and we're going to debate it. We're going to act quickly. Gentlemen.
Well, you know, it's the difference, or one of the main differences, and I think that a lot of people don't get this, is that the Jordanians understand an Eastern mentality and philosophy. They get that these folks only understand dealing from a position of power. They understand that negotiations are useless and ridiculous, and they understand that the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of the Hadith say that lying and deception and deceiving people in the way of Allah is, if you are in jihad, is perfectly okay. They understand that, and the King of Jordan understands that perfectly. And I think a lot of Americans don't get that. A lot of Americans, including our president, don't really get that, or maybe he does. But anyway, but that's for a whole nother show. So it didn't surprise me that the King of Jordan decided this is what we're going to do. As a matter of fact, the King of Jordan warned him. They warned the people in ISIS. If you hurt any of our people, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen.
He drew a line in the sand.
But he followed through.
He drew his own line in the sand and didn't cross over it. So it became a computer if-then statement. And what happened then when this pilot was murdered in this horrific fashion, the King of Jordan didn't threaten. He promised what would happen, and of course he kept his word. I doubt seriously if ISIS has much more to do with Jordan, especially in the near future.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I just don't see Jordan having the firepower because they need backup. And we're not there because our president won't even acknowledge that it was Islamic extremists that did the cause the problem. He won't acknowledge the fact that he brought up the Christians are actually just as bad as that. Back in 1096, yeah, we had some crusades that the Catholics did at that point, but that was in response to, oh, that's right, Muslim extremists. Details. So as we go forward to this today, for him to say the high horse, well, okay, the Catholics didn't burn people alive, bury children live. So there's really just no comparison. So you're either delusional or lying. I really don't know. It's got to be one or the other because it's obvious. But the fact that our Muslim-raised president is going the way he's going, I don't blame him. He was raised with that. He understands it. He's lived it. That's why, to him, there's no problem. Move along. Forget the burning bodies, the children being buried alive. Move along. There's really not a problem here, folks. Just you don't really see that. That's really not happening because the Christians have been bad and evil as well in the past. So that washes out the extreme evilness that's happening by this group. Now. Well, I live now, and I'm concerned about now, not 1,000 years ago. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, so again, he's either delusional or lying. There's really not much middle ground. I mean, but Jordan has the power of it's kind of like a flea trying to fart into a tornado to stop it, without America standing there with the firepower saying, "We got your back."
Well, I don't think that Jordan's interested necessarily in stopping ISIS. I think the King of Jordan is interested in keeping ISIS from messing with them anymore.
Right.
If he can stand up to it, more power to him.
He just did.
He
But
did.
he doesn't have the continual money to keep at it,
Well,
like ISIS has.
It didn't take.
They've got
money.
Saudi Arabia.
It didn't take any money. It took some prisoners they had and decided Well,
hang 'em.
you know what? Here's the deal. If you throw one rocket at me, I'll throw 100 at you. And the reason I throw 100 at you is because I want you to stop.
Why does it take such a small country to have the balls that this guy that we have running ours that his wife has?
Well,
I mean, I just don't understand that.
Well,
This guy has less power,
let
and he's
me-
talking aloud, and he's doing
Let
something.
me explain. Let me give you some historical context.
It's hysterical. Bring it.
When David went and threw the rock against Goliath,
The giant.
there were already a lot of Israeli troops there. There were people there, and everybody else was scared spitless.
ready to start. There was the war there. The war was hooked up, ready.
I mean, and this kid, this teenager, showed up and went, "You ain't so." He did Rocky on him. You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad. And he got a good promise. You know what he got? He got the no taxes promise.
Yeah.
Heck, I'd hit a dude in the head with a rock if I had to pay any taxes forever. That'd be
That's
cool.
a deal.
And you know what? He got the chick and no taxes. So he was the one, the least capable from the outset to do it. And I think that Jordan is maybe playing that role in ISIS. Because at least showing you how to do it.
Right.
The
That's
thing
true.
is, it doesn't
Right.
take money.
Said in the past.
It takes fortitude. It takes willpower. Not necessarily money.
It takes
because
character.
It takes character. Yes, and
Okay,
you know what?
so we're lacking all that in America right now.
Well,
I get that.
and the understanding of, first of all, who you're dealing with.
Right.
Yes, either
The understanding, that's strong right there.
Either the president knows or doesn't know, but I think more importantly, I think the American public have to have an idea, have to understand who they're dealing with and why. Because we've been fooled in this country to think that those people hate us because of what we do. Those people hate us because we are. And
But
that's completely different.
And because they're jealous of what we have.
Well, that's part of it, but we are the infidel. Look at how we live our lives. Our Supreme Court is a month or so away from saying that men can marry men and women can marry women in this country. And to the Islamic, not the radical Islamic, to the Islamic, that is horrendous behavior.
Yeah.
And so there's no such thing as radical Islam. There's only Islam.
Islam. Yes.
It's the people who either they read the book and they believe it all and act on it. That's the difference. There's no radical. That whole concept of that it's a bunch of yahoos and radical. There's no such thing.
See, because you got to take in consideration, back in the, I guess you would say the Renaissance, the Templars was soldiers of the church. And they were some badasses, if I can say that on TV.
You just did.
You know,
I want you to know you just did.
They were some badasses. You know, they were like a squad of ninjas. I mean, and they kept the peace for the church with an iron hand. So again, I'm not blind to what's going on, but I'm just saying, you know, at some point in time, you got to understand the basic concept of good and evil, right and wrong, and how it affects you and all the people around you.
But that's a relative term, Eddie. Come on now.
And I know it is. But the thing about it, and this is the equalizer, power determines what's relative. If you kill one of my guys and I kill 40 of yours, at that rate, you won't have no guys for long. You see what I'm saying? So you kill 100 of my guys, and I kill 400 1,000 of your guys, you won't have guys for long.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, welcome again to the show, and we'll do more of this next week. Just us and you, sitting here with your friends. See you next week.
Come on back, folks. Boom.
Yeah, if you ain't got no army, you can't fight no war.
Well, and
That's since the beginning of time.
And when Jordan retaliated with fighter jets and bombers, which they do have, then they caused a whole bunch of damage and killed a whole bunch of folks.
Yeah.
Which means not even ISIS, as spread out as they are, could sustain that every week.
No.
They couldn't sustain that every week.
Plus, you got Syria. Now you got Jordan. I mean, if all those Muslim nations all turn on ISIS ain't got nowhere to go.
Iran's pushing some of Syria, so I don't see that.
But again, it's possible.
Jordan is the one that's standing up with the balls right now,
What
which
Jordan-
I think is awesome. But there's nobody else who's willing to stand up.
But if they fighting among themselves, they can't be fighting Israel.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
See?
yeah.
See, that's what it's
But
about.
Iran is using Syria and all those surrounding crappy countries, Afghanistan,
See,
Iraq.
the part of the issue becomes, my friend and my enemy. Who are you? See, because if you're enemy.